Back to the pandemic and its impact on how the legislature will conduct its business. Representative Weber, we don't yet know who the speaker will be. It's likely it's going to be Representative Dick Hinch from Merrimack. But what are some concerns from the Democratic side? We're hearing a lot about the House wanting to meet in person, particularly in Reps Hall.
Well, we have heard that, and at the time we heard that, our infection rate was far lower than it is now. And as you know, in the last week, the rates have exploded here in New Hampshire. If you put 400 people in theater seating, which is what Reps Hall is, sitting shoulder to shoulder, sharing an armrest, if anybody is ill, then there's going to be a huge amount of transmission. And it's a concern not only for our members, many of whom are older and have pre-existing conditions, but it's also of enormous concern that then you are creating disease vectors that are taking infection back to every single corner of our state. And as even Governor Sununu said the other day, right now, gatherings are to be discouraged. So it's going to be interesting to see what whoever is the next speaker comes up with. The other issue that is going to be very critical to the work of the House is how to run 17 consecutive committee meetings, which is what we normally do 2 days a week, in order to get the work of the House done. And as you know, I mean, the Senate does very good work and gets its policies over to us, but in the House we tend, because we have more people and more committees, to take a very deep dive and a very in-depth look at each piece of legislation, and we need to preserve that because that's the reason that we have both bodies, and that's the reason that we have different procedures in the different bodies. So it's going to be interesting going forward, but we do need to keep the health considerations foremost in our minds because it impacts both the members and people throughout the state. And the Legislative Office Building is usually a beehive of activity in January and February, and it's going to be hard to figure out if that's possible. Senator Bradley, do you believe it's safe to resume all legislative activity at this point in the pandemic?
No, I think that what you will find is that we'll take a phased approach. I think we need to invest in filtration systems in both the State House and the Legislative Office Building. I think as a vaccine becomes widely available, we may be able to, on a limited basis, phase back in some in-person meetings. But I think you're going to see a continuation of the public hearing process, much in the same way, Adam, that we're conducting this interview via Skype, via Zoom, via Microsoft Teams. I think that we have to be responsible about how we, come back into session. Clearly right now, we have seen a spike in caseloads as people have gone inside after a beautiful summer. We have to be cognizant of that. I think that we can, over time, with the proper equipment in place and a vaccine in place that hopefully is effective, resume more day-to-day activity in the State House. But we need to, this is one thing where I agree with Representative Weber. We've got to be cautious and careful. And a quick follow to you, Senator Bradley. Is there a chance that things could be postponed a few months in terms of how you do your work legislatively, or is that not even a possibility in a budget year? I think that we will need a budget by July 1st of next year, 2021. That, as I said before, has got to be the top priority. Less is more, but we have to have a budget. And I think that with a lot of focus on the budget and hopefully improving pandemic conditions with a vaccine and the infrastructure upgrades that we're going to have to make in the building, we will be able to get a budget done. All right, Senator Bradley, Representative Weber, thank you so much for your time this morning on Close Up.